Well, Parliament's back after a 6-week break after the election. So we're talking months they've been not in the House of Commons. This is just an explosive week. I think it's going to up increase.
Economic growth, and that was the trinity that we left them. But today, there's no buffer left. How come they spent all this money when we should have saved when we were in full economic growth?
Instead of defending his record, he states falsehoods about our record. There were 2 conservative budgets prior to the great global recession. And let's look at those budgets. 2006, according to the public accounts, a $13.8 billion surplus. 2007, delivered again by Jim Flaherty, a $9.6 billion surplus. Conservatives did the responsible thing and paid off debt to cushion us against the hard times that were to come, and that's why we had the strongest response to the great global recession. Why did he spend the cupboard bare in the good times and leave us so weak and vulnerable now in the hard times?
But we have been perhaps the greatest slacker in all of NATO. Have no foreign policy except jolly post-national naivete and a preposterous infatuation with the grossly misrepresented issue of climate change, like Conrad Black, issue of the week.
All right, the Hill Times did the continued mystery of the NDP's existence. So this goes right into in depth about where the NDP are headed and all that. I suggest you check that out.
In the question period, the Prime Minister used the phrase, even in places like Alberta, in a derogatory way that is frankly unbecoming of the Prime Minister of this country. For shame. We know what the Prime Minister thinks of workers in Western Canada, but at a time when fuel costs are rising out of control, the Prime Minister needs to stop his attack on the workers in Western Canada who provide Canada with a low-carbon, ethical and secure source of energy while merrily cheering as tankers of Saudi oil make their way down the St. Lawrence. Does the Prime Minister even know how much fuel has increased in cost since he last took questions in this place? So, Mr. Speaker, it begs the question, how much are Canadians paying for chicken these days?
Mr. Speaker, allow me to say that over the past many months, we have been working closely with Albertans, whether it's family representatives or nonprofit organizations, who've been pushing their elected representatives to move forward on the $10 a day child.
The number of daycare spaces created by this government, this Liberal government in Alberta, 0. The number of jobs lost in my province under this Prime Minister, hundreds of thousands. The Prime Minister earlier talked about housing costs. He thinks that sending tax dollars to fancy think tanks, increasing debt, which increases inflation, is going to somehow lower the cost of basic building goods like lumber, which is out of control, and he has no plan to address this. Does the Prime Minister even know how much a 2x4 costs these days? Everything has increased under this Prime Minister's watch, including housing. Housing is more unaffordable under this Prime Minister. He does not have the courage to put together a plan. He doesn't have the courage to stand up for Canadian workers as he offshores our job. He doesn't have the courage to stand here and come up with smart economic policies that are going to drive down the cost of goods, get our economy back to work. He does not have the courage to put together a vision. So, Mr. Speaker, it begs the question, how much are Canadians paying for chicken these days?
The horror story of the week we've been following is Ethiopia's Tigray War, which, started in 2020 last November. And Canada asked everybody to leave the country. Addis Ababa is basically cut off. They're looking at maybe taking the port in Djibouti. The leader of the country there, we just pictured before, he went to the front. Went to the front to fight as not even as the head of the army over there, but he's in the mix. And he won the Nobel Prize in 2019 for getting these Tigray who were basically ruling the country for 30 years. But now it looks like